that was lovely. I really loved it was just really vulnerable and authentic, and it's really lovely.
That's what I kind of really value at the moment, because I just, after all these years, been kind of closed off and living in shame. I kind of want to be living a bit more open, honest, authentic, genuine, honest, and just more open and vulnerable, just more that kind of thing. Not easy, but I want to work on that. I want to do that more. So we all wish you could be like a hedgehog with our bellies to the world, but often we do have to kind of flip over and show our spikes and be kind of like, no, I don't think I could be vulnerable to you. You I can, not you, but you I can. That kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Hello and welcome to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. We get curious about all things gender, sex and sexuality, as well as relationships, feminism, the inclusive kind, mental health and kink, and all that makes us humans unique and diverse. From body positivity to body dysmorphia, it's all welcome here. Come with us on a journey of inclusion, acceptance and respect. I'm your host, Esther Lemons. I identify as a cisgender woman and my pronouns are she and her. In this episode, I have a conversation with Bella CASCARINI. Bella's pronouns are she and her, and she is a trans woman with more emphasis on the woman part than the trans part. Find out what that means to Bella in this episode. We also talk about what affects how we're perceived, how noticing small moments of genuine happiness can help us embrace our identity, finding a name that feels right, what settling into femininity can look like, how films and TV are problematic in hindsight, hurdles on the coming out journey, working through shame, trusting your gut, and accepting your light and your dark to your bones. To clarify some terminology that is used in the episode, GIC is Gender Identity Clinic. It was recorded on the 26th of March 2021. Now let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome. What's your name?
Bella, and I'm a trans woman, but more focus on the woman part would be preferable for me. Not that I'm ashamed of my male presenting I had before, but it would be kind of, it's like when somebody just calls me Bella, it feels nice because they're acknowledging that I'm female, so that kind of thing feels good.
Yeah. And what pronouns do you use?
She, her.
That makes total sense. Yeah. But it's good to not make assumptions, I suppose. So
assumption I tend to make is just calling people they. I know that actually, quite funnily enough, I used to keep getting pronouns really mixed up, like a lot. Like I would just kind of do like Freudian slips of just calling people presenting as male she, people presenting as female him, and it would just keep happening. I'd be going, why is this happening? And it was just, it's probably down to like confusion. It's like this kind of, if I'm constantly getting people calling me him and he, and somewhere deep inside probably didn't feel like that was right. And just like, if that's the way it is, kind of just call other people she and him, even though people are saying that they're the opposite.
Yeah, that's interesting because when I get pronouns wrong, it's usually to do with, it's like my brain jumps to the anatomy and biology, I guess, or maybe the tone of voice or something. It's like your brain almost assesses masculine qualities versus feminine qualities and then just kind of jumps to the conclusion of what is most dominant perhaps in my observation of a person. I mean, I can only guess that's what happens in my brain. So that's how I sometimes get it wrong.
I mean, I work as a waiter and I've had a few people there who come in and like last time I was at work I was wearing a wig and there's a few guests who like maybe hear my voice or kind of see me with my mask on, eyes and forehead showing, no mascara on, and they just probably assume I'm male with long hair because I know that is a thing and I really don't want to cause any offence here. And so they emphatically call me sir or young man, and I walk off feeling very hurt because it's like, you emphatically called me male. It's like there are some trans women who can't afford things to make them come across more female. Some trans women don't even want to wear mascara. I just can't be bothered to wear mascara. I mean, I wear nail polish every day because I can't bear my fingernails not looking colourful. But then at work, I can't wear nail polish because it can get in the food and stuff. So I paint my toenails
Oh,
and
right.
I paint my toenails instead, so in secret.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I didn't bother to put on mascara. I can't wear nail polish. I have this long wig on, but somehow they kind of look at me, and I can't. Some things I can't help. I can't help, like for example, the way I walk. Just like subtle things which some people will still take to mean that you're male, but it's like no, just no.
Yeah.
I can't help the way I walk. I can try to change the way I walk, but it doesn't have to define me, does it?
Totally.
So,
Yeah. Why should you have to change anything, right?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, why do people have to use things like sir or madam anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they didn't, it would avoid a lot of issues, wouldn't it? If they simply didn't use any gendered terms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find that odd because I'm not the kind of person who uses that language with other people. I find it quite unusual when people do that with me for some reason. And I kind of get that it's a matter of people wanting to be polite or something. But if I go into a shop and someone says to me, "What can I get you, miss?" or whatever, I'm like, I would be just as happy if someone said, "Hello, what can I get you?" You know, I don't need to be addressed as such. And I feel like, I mean, do you agree that if people were to just avoid that language and just say, "Hi, yeah, can I get whatever?" would that be helpful?
Partly because there is also the little moment of euphoria when somebody calls you miss, and it's like, yes, it's working.
Yeah.
You get the moment as well. And
Of course, yeah.
following on from what I said before, there are times when I do go back to the person who misgendered me and I say, actually, it's this. And they're like, oh, sorry, it's the face mask. We didn't realise. And it's like, they generally just seem like, it's not like a, no, I'm right, you're wrong. It was like a, oh gosh, sorry. So that does kind of happen.
Yeah, totally.
And it is, like you say, with the whole society wasn't so black or white, like this or that. And I mean, what is the worst that could happen? What is the worst that could happen if some people just took a step back, thought, pondered, contemplated the fact that there are trans people in the world? What is the worst that could happen? It would upset the status quo. Okay, well, I mean, I know that I can kind of feel like before I came out, it did feel like I didn't want to go down that path of considering that I might be the wrong gender or something. And because I know that what made me struggle to come out was the whole feeling like I had to feel supported enough in coming out. Because it's kind of a bit hard, I think, to kind of just come out as trans feeling unsupported, because it is like, you know, that you're going to have to be actually going through this feeling of gender dysphoria, or going through getting people to say, can you help me through this? Just the whole thinking, will people believe me if I tell them this is what I'm thinking? Or whether just say it's all in my head or something. It's the case of like being believed if you come out and say this. So it is like that whole thing. And it is the whole process that I've had to go through since Halloween of trying to tell people I'm trans, I get dysphoria, it's uncomfortable, makes me feel like I want to burst out of my own skin. And I know you may not know how it feels, but just as long as you respect and just know that you're not going to know what it feels like, but just respect is literally the just really good thing to get in it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, it's a good point you make about, because I've heard other people say that, like, after you just come out, it's the hardest time. 1 or 2 years after you come out is what I've, heard people say. And so for you, coming out is a fairly recent thing?
Yeah, I came out Halloween 2020, roughly. I mean, there was this moment, I'm going to call somebody out here a bit, but credit goes to her, because I just am aware that for like a lot of my life, I felt miserable. And it was like, I tried to find out all the reasons why I could be feeling miserable. And every time I thought I found the reason, it was like, nope, that's not it. Like, what is causing the misery then? And so I remember this one day at work, I was completely miserable. And again, I was not knowing how or why I was feeling miserable, and it was getting me annoyed. And then one time, one of my co-workers is just passing me on the stairs. She just curtsies to me. I curtsy back. And then suddenly it's like, hang on, that felt right. That moment of curtsying felt right. And it's like something grabs onto me and it won't let go. It's like, yes, you've noticed. I'm not leaving you.
Wow.
And so it was like, it just stayed with me for like days afterwards and it was causing some like, come on, why? And then thinking back after that to like moments in the past when, like one time I went to this party at uni where everybody went as Taylor Swift. Basically, everybody just dressed as Taylor Swift, and I got like a blonde wig. And there's a photo of me taking a photo of myself in the mirror, and I look back on that photo, and that's the one of two photos I have where I genuinely look happy. Because photos I took of myself when I was presenting as male, I'm trying to smile, but even I can see at the time, I still look not okay. And I just get frustrated, like, why do I still not look okay when I'm trying to smile? But this photo's me in a black get-up and a blonde wig looking like Taylor Swift in the Shake It Off video. You cannot have a more genuine smile on my face. Before that, the other smile, genuine smile I had in the photos when I went as Frankenfurter.
Oh, that's amazing. So all those like maybe small moments then started to add up and you were like, oh. Yeah. So what happened on Halloween then?
I think it was around about then that I was doing things like, I think on Halloween, I went with my housemate to a bar and walked away from it and went into this church in Portergate that does antiques. I don't know if you know the place. And I know there's a bit there which does vintage clothes. And somehow my feet were taking me towards there. And then somehow my eyes were looking up and they saw this purple and black stripy 70s slip dress. And I just can't take my eyes off it. And I'm wanting to walk away from it and just get on with my normal quote unquote day and just get on with my life. But I just can't stop looking at it. I can't stop wanting it. And I'm looking at the saleswoman thinking, would she judge me if I asked her? This is so unlike me, but it feels like me. And it's like, so then I say, can you get that slip dress down for me? And she's like, yeah, of course. And I'm so thinking about telling her it's for my girlfriend, it's not for me, but I can't bring myself to say it. And then this beautiful, brilliant, I was going to say beautiful saleswoman just clocks on that this I'm wanting to buy for myself. And there's no judgment at all whatsoever. And I've still got that dress. I got the dress that started it all. And and so then I'm walking home with a big plastic bag full of curios and collectibles and antiques and this dress. And I go home, I put it on with that blonde Taylor Swift wig, and I am crying, and it feels like the good kind of crying. I'm taking photos of myself, and I'm crying, genuine tears, genuine happiness. And then I'm doing things like walking home from work, wearing the wig, feeling how good it feels compared to how I felt during the work day. And I'm taking photos of myself with like this app that changes my gender, noticing how happy I look when I do that. And so then I'm kind of mentioning it more at work. This is how I feel. And I remember feeling more and more supported as I was mentioning it, to the point where I just go into the changing room, put the wig on, come out, and I feel my confidence and my happiness skyrockets. Because usually I'm quite quiet, even I'm aware I'm quite quiet, and it just was more confident and more me. And I even went down onto the floor into the restaurant and wore the wig, and it was like, oh my God, I'm trying not to cry because I'm on the floor, but I can't help it. I'm being so happy right now. So, and it was just then me coming out on Facebook, getting all the love and likes and comments and everything, because I'm standing in the beach in Haysborough with the dress on, with the wig on, and just, people saying, you look genuinely happy. And it's like, yeah, I feel it. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Oh, that's lovely. I'm glad to hear you got support and people were, just really affirming, really. So tell me about your name. How did you choose your name?
So actually, during second lockdown, I spent most of that trying to figure out what my new name was, because my name, when I came out onto the floor and everybody was asking what my new name was going to be, it was Thomasina, and which I kind of pondered before as being potentially my new name, but somehow it was good. It was good. And I know that, again, I remember coming down onto the floor and somebody at work said, "I've been trying to think up a new nickname for you. How about Cena?" It's like the female part of your name, like, because that one part tends to be the male name, but then add Cena and it makes it female. So how about Cena? I was like, yeah, I kind of like that. But again, didn't feel like that would be my first name. And then so, yeah, I'm just spending the second lockdown feeling like nameless, feeling like I don't know what to call myself. What do I call myself? And coming up with suggestions and names and people suggesting names. It's like, no, I'm sorry, but it's not clicking with me. I know you feel like it. And then there's this one point when the name Rosalina came in because I was talking with somebody and mentioning about how I was standing in like the castle walls near Great Yarm. I think it's just Burgh Castle walls or something, I can't remember, and just standing there feeling like feet on the ground, head in the clouds amongst the stars. And I thought back to this character Rosalina, Super Mario Galaxy, and I just remembered there like how connected and affiliated I felt with her, and like the colour of her dress, the turquoise and all, and yeah, just loving the name. But again, it didn't feel like my first name. Again, it was like, oh, come on, just what is it then? So what do I keep calling myself? If I talk to myself like I do, what do I call myself? What do I say? Like, come on, insert name, you can do this. It's like, what do I call myself?
Yeah.
And then this is going to be very weird and very gothic, but I use this word to describe myself anyway. Standing in the graveyard of the church near those castle walls and just kind of looking at gravestone names, thinking if anything might be me. And so I was standing there for like half an hour to an hour and it's getting dark. I was just like, what is my name? So usually in those moments, I kind of do like a gut instinct kind of thing. So like I put my hand on my belly or my gut and kind of feel like maybe something that like a surge or something, or like a recollection or recognition feeling from there. And so I was kind of just putting my hand on my belly and it's like, belly, Bella, yeah, okay, let's go with that. And just driving home feeling like, yeah, Bella, Italian for beautiful. So a nod to my Italian heritage as well, because I've got an Italian surname. And yeah, it just felt right. So yeah, and I was just kind of treating myself to pizza that evening, I remember, and just really hoping that that name would stay with me and not turn out to be wrong, as so many names often had. But like 4 months on, no, thinking it's the wrong name. So
so it still feels good.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. So you said you have some middle names as well.
Yeah, so Rosalina, Sina are my middle names. Late into near the end of second lockdown, I had the deed poll form up on my laptop and I was typing in my new name and again just typing out what felt right. So I was doing Bella surname, needs more, Bella Rosalina surname. It's like, no, needs more. And then I did Bella Rosalina Sina surname, switch Sina and Rosalina around, pushing back again. It's like, yeah, let's go with that. And it just kind of felt like in the surname, it was like depicting progression of finding my new name. Like it goes from Sina, like just kind of acknowledging my past, and it was still always female, my past and all, to Rosalina, to finding my first name Bella. So yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's lovely. I like that you really sort of tuned into things and went with your, what'd you call it? I guess maybe gut feeling or intuition or instinct, you know. I think that's a really lovely way of doing things. I do a lot of that myself with pretty much anything. So how do you see your journey progressing?
I know that like when I first came out, I was putting lipstick on. I've got a bit of a thin upper lip, so I've tried to do like that thing where you kind of make your upper lip bigger than it looks, but then it kind of ends up making you look like a clown. So it was like it didn't really work that well for that long for me. So I've not worn lipstick that much since. And I was again trying to do the mascara and stuff, and just trying to kind of, it felt like I was really trying to settle into me being feminine when I had also had to buy a whole new wardrobe, which was happening during the second lockdown. So I was kind of not able to use like changing rooms and stuff, which it had its perks, it had its cons. And and now it kind of feels like I'm less having to make an emphatic point of my femininity. It kind of I kind of feel that way more when I get called Bella more and she, her more. It kind of feels like others believe it. So not that I'm reliant on them believing me, but it helps. So it's
of course.
like,
yeah,
so I'm kind of being pointed out in like Zoom calls that I'm wearing more clothes that are less feminine, less exclusively feminine, less exclusively male. And so I have still got my old T-shirts when I was presenting as male stashed away somewhere, because I know that like second day of coming out, I was wearing like my Danger Mouse T-shirt and all, and trying to kind of do like Sam Puckett from iCarly, kind of do like that, like she's female but she wears boxers kind of thing. But it was kind of, again, I just kind of would go to bed at night and feel like the things were missing. Like I'm wearing like breast forms at the moment. I'm kind of things like that, and just kind of things which seem to be still telling me, get over yourself, who you kidding, who you fooling, you're still male, and just feeling really unsettled about the whole thing. And so just trying to find ways to kind of settle into femininity, kind of. And now it kind of feels like I'm feeling less like I have to kind of be emphatic about it. So that kind of
that's such a great way of putting it, actually, settling into femininity. Because in a way, what does that even mean, right?
Exactly. It's probably about that as well. So kind of.
It can mean, it means different things to different people. And like, you can be a girly girl, you can be a tomboy, you can be anything, you can be anything else really. But I totally appreciate that you're considering what is making you come across more feminine, because you want to be recognized as that. So I guess that plays a part.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's like sometimes I want to make the point of like, for example, there's a photo of me on my social media with a beard. It's like, I was female then and I had a beard. So what? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
And it's also kind of spending from coming out to now ongoing, thinking, what even is femininity? Like, what makes somebody feminine? What makes somebody masculine? And just thinking there are some very twisted, warped, don't have to go along with their ideas of what each respective thing means. Because it feels kind of like, to me, it's kind of stuff I didn't want to kind of acknowledge, I'll admit, because it was like, if I were to acknowledge what kind of femininity is pressed as meaning, it would mean like becoming feminine will probably bring up some very big difficulties and terrors almost, and that kind of felt like I need a bit more support to feel okay coming into it, which is just crappy in and of itself. And it's like, because I remember my favorite characters in fiction weren't like the quote unquote girly girl type, but like, say, Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph, who's got like this very mouthy sassy side to her, who's very like tiny little Vanellope in the face of massive Wreck-It Ralph, and she's just calling him a hobo and just completely mouthing off to him, completely unfazed by his stature and height, and just calling him stink brain. But then stink brain becomes like an endearing term, or just like, it's like sassy, rebellious female characters like Kamikaze and How to Train Your Dragon book series, and just characters like them. I loved them. I loved the rebellious type when I felt like I had to, the rebellious female type. I felt like I had to be the obedient male type kind of thing. So,
wow.
And so, not say I don't like the girly type. I really do, but I always want to be the rebellious girly type, I think. So that kind of stuff was really endearing to me.
Totally. Well, I can relate to that. I feel like I'm a bit of a rebellious one myself. Yeah.
Hey.
I like being that as well. Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. So each to their own, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as we were talking about femininity and how fluid that really is and how it's different for everyone, what do you feel defines you as a person?
Good question. I mean, I've had somebody tell me you don't have to prove that you're feminine, like you don't have to prove that you are lovable. You just are female, you just are feminine. Being feminine doesn't necessarily mean that, say, I mean, it does seem that like the assumed societal expectation of being masculine is to be like testosterone, unemotional, kind of very. It's like they've got these traits that just are deemed feminine and traits that are deemed masculine. And
Mm-hmm.
at least my perception was that, I mean, I was always like sensitive. I was always like into the art stuff, always kind of, and still am. And
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't really take it to mean that that made me a feminine person, I guess. It was kind of like, it's just traits that men can do too, like women can be sciencey. It's like, it's an
Mm-hmm.
expectation which doesn't have to be followed. And yeah, it kind of seems to me a little like, because of this whole gender binary, male, female, no in between kind of thing, it does kind of almost feel like there are people who have to prove that they are female. There are people that they have to prove they are male. This is my opinion, not to say this is actually true, but I mean, it's just
Mm-hmm.
from my perspective, it's like it's like the whole thing in Friends where people keep making fun of Chandler for coming across as like female, or that one bit where he just says, I always wanted to be a lesbian. Did I say that out loud? Or like saying, if I
Mm.
were a man. Did I just say if I were a man? Like those kind of things. It's like, Chandler, if you feel trans, just say it. It's okay. Or it's just the bits like when Chandler and Joey do something that makes them feel it's like a feminine thing for them to do. It's like going, like, oh, want a beer? Yeah, I'm going to beer. You want a beer? And it's like, what's
Mm-hmm.
happening here? Come on. Or it's
Right.
just like Joey saying, no, I'm not. Why'd you say that? That's mean. Also, I've hurt you. Is it something I said? And
Mm.
Joey's saying, it's not what you said, it's the way you said it. Oh my God, I'm a woman. It's like, what about that is female? Everybody can feel that way. Everybody can feel more. I mean, it's probably quite actually natural to feel more hurt by the way somebody is saying something than what they are saying. It doesn't mean that you're female just because you felt hurt by the way somebody's saying it, not the way they said it. Or it's like the bit where
Mm.
Chandler is essentially, I remember there's one episode where Chandler and Monica are trying to, I think, trying to impregnate Monica, and Chandler's just not feeling up to it. And so Monica's trying to do this like display of, come on, come to bed, Chandler, just kind of, and after they had a fight, and then they do it, and then Monica's back to being mean again. And then Chandler's just kind of saying, I feel so used. And then later,
Mm.
Chandler's mentioning that to Joey, and Joey's just like, you still had sex, right? What's wrong with
Mm.
you? And Chandler's going, yeah, what is wrong with me? And I was thinking, no, Chandler, if you feel used, you feel used. It shouldn't be like sex is be all end all and that should override everything you're feeling in the situation. That is not
Totally.
okay. So I felt quite
Mm-hmm.
not happy about that bit when I saw it.
Totally. Yeah, there's quite a bit in there. Actually, I read an article about Friends and like how toxic it really is.
Transphobic, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so interesting, like looking back now at things I've watched, films I've seen, series I've watched, and looking back now, I feel like, oh my God, that's really, really not okay. Stuff like,
And even me personally
yeah.
noticing things like in Life of Brian, when Eric Idle's character says, I want to be a woman, I want to have babies, John Keats is saying, you want to have babies? what's the point of fighting for his right to have babies when he can't have them? It's like, what's funny about this? Not to say that I don't like Life of Brian. I think it's got really funny moments in that, but that one scene really got to me. You were saying, sorry, about something you saw recently?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I've seen The Life of Brian, but ages ago, so I don't remember that bit. But yeah, but it's like you can find pieces like that in lots of old films and stuff. Sometimes they're blatantly obvious and other times not so much. I spoke to, actually in episode 4 with Adelia, we talked a little bit about Silence of the Lambs, which is obviously a really stereotypical negative portrayal of a trans person, essentially. So there's that, obviously, and there's something more obvious, like in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Oh dear God.
So especially the end bit is like it's just horrendous.
The worst case of hemorrhoids I've ever seen. That bit.
Yes, that bit. Yeah. So interestingly, at the time, I mean, I like the film. I find it a funny film, and I didn't really think much of that at the time. But obviously, looking back now in hindsight, that is just so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Yeah.
Then again, I did see Some Like It Hot over Christmas. That was kind of amusing.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's got that whole ending, which I remember being shared on Tumblr when I was on it back in like 16, 17 years old, of like that man at the end, like saying, taking the wig off, saying, I'm actually a man. And the guys are saying, well, nobody's perfect. And he's just like, I'm accepting of you. I don't care. And it's just, this is in the 50s or the 60s or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Have you seen a Disclosure documentary on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
Where it talks to a lot of actors and stuff as well about the representation of, trans and gender non-conforming people in the media. And it's just all it's very, very warped and things are changing slowly, but especially with the older stuff that you look back on, it just makes you cringe now. And you're like, really? How is this ever a thing? But it's similar with the way women were portrayed and how people of color were portrayed. And it's like, we know better now. Well, hopefully for some part of it. So it is slow progress, but there you go. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, a few more things I kind of thought of, not related to like gender identity now, but like me coming out as trans, because I know for me, I know that I think kept my true feelings kind of secret quite a lot out of like shame. And so I know that what got dwelt upon was like how I it's almost like I had my female true self wrapped under layers, to quote Shrek, of shame. And but even then, it's like you can't really hide from your true self. You can't hide from what feels true to you. So I can go as far back as like primary school, watching girls standing in the circle doing handstands, wanting to join them. And yet it's like somehow I feel like I can't, but it's like I want to, but yeah. And I know that actually I didn't really kind of discover that trans people were a thing till I was like an early teenager. But even then it was like, yeah, there weren't that many kind of in the media and stuff. And what I do like now is you've got films like Moxie, where there's a trans woman in it, and they don't even kind of mention that she's... I
loved Moxie. It's so good. Oh my goodness, that was such a feel-good film.
They just fleetingly mention that she has had a background, but they don't actually just mention she's trans. So it's like she's just one of the women.
Yeah,
no difference. Yeah. So
yeah, totally. That is progress for sure. Yeah.
But no, it is just finally feeling like this is the time now where I felt like I got enough support to come out and just realize that there's a crowd of people out there who are really supportive. And the more you get people kind of posting trans stuff on like social media, like trans days of visibility coming up as well, it does feel like not invisible, even though there seem to be some hurdles put up to get what I want to get, which would be great if they were taken down or something. So, yeah.
Can you say a bit more about those hurdles?
Yeah. I mean, if there's, quote, mention the obvious, there's the long waiting list I mean, it is just, why is this long waiting list even here? I don't know how accurate this is. I read this on a social media post last night, but it said that at this current rate, somewhere down the line, I can't remember how far, it will be a 26-year-long wait for somebody to be seen by an NHS GIC if things remain the way they are, which just is, I'm not sure how credible this is, but even just the idea of like things being the way they are, and the fact that like compared to 5 years ago, the number of people coming out as trans and asking for support is going to like the thousands compared to like the hundreds. And there's just still this limited number of GICs in the country. And it's just, they're opening new ones. But I mean, I heard recently that there was actually a GIC in Norwich that closed down 5 years ago. And
oh, right. Oh, I
and
don't
that was
know
like,
about that.
and that was like part of N&N. It was based in the Berthel Community Hospital, and it was just like, why did it have to close down? Probably because of the low numbers at the time, but now the numbers are high again, and it's just like, mentioning of how there really would be a good idea to have one based in Norwich, because it's like the heart of East Anglia. If it's one open in Norwich, it would make all the East Anglians come to Norwich for the GIC. It would ease the pressure, and so there's that hurdle. And it is also that hurdle of just kind of taking in the whole process of coming out as trans officially, and like you have to prove it. And I can't remember what it is, and it's just like how one way of proving it has to involve you have to out yourself, and that puts a bit of pressure on you to have to do that just to be acknowledged as trans woman, trans male, or however, and again, non-binary people having like less rights, that kind of thing. It just feels like outdated stuff that just makes it harder to truly be who we are, because we've got people who kind of make assumptions out of like shame. It's just more for me. I get the like looks from other people. They can't quite work out who I am, or they kind of find me like the quizzical looks like I'm at the time when I'm struggling in a bit of a bad mindset, I could feel like I'm looking at me like I'm a specimen. But it might be something else. I can't read minds. It feels a bit like, I'm just trying to be happy. Is that such a sin? So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just so conditioned in the binary in society today that I think your brain just wants to jump to one or the other. And if we see someone who is maybe not exclusively one or the other, or blends them in a way, or queers it in a way, then people are like just confused. And it's like, I think people just have to get used to the fact that there's this whole spectrum of, well, not just gender and identity and expression and just everything like that. And I think once people get more used to that, hopefully they won't, be so like, hang on a minute, looking at people so quizzically, like, what are you or which are you? It will be like, okay, you are just kind of queering things and blending it and doing your own thing with it.
I mean, having said that, the long look could be anything. The long look could actually be, wow, you look beautiful, or something else.
Exactly,
it could be anything. And it is like that whole, if you go out and you feel miserable and you feel ashamed, you'll be noticing more the looks from people, whether it's like misery or shaming. And if you're going out feeling top of the world, you'll be noticing more of the looks, which are very positive to use. It is kind of
very
that
true
as well. But,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally. Is there anything you'd like to say before we wrap up?
I can't think of anything, to be honest, right now. I've been talking quite a lot, but this really did help. So this...
Oh, that's good.
Is good, yeah. And, just like, again, I don't... It's like how I don't wish for, like, don't think mental health has to really define a person. Like, you have anxiety, you have depression, you have PTSD or bipolar or borderline personality disorder or something, and I know when it can kind of feel like it consumes your life, it can feel really easy to define you. And I know that for a time it felt like the trans identity did define me a bit, and then it was like, And I think it was actually just because I felt like even then, before coming out, I didn't really know or feel like I had a grip of who I was, where my place was in the world, what my identity was, or like who I actually really was beyond this expectation and external perception. And so since then, it's been like discovering, hang on, I actually quite like, say, Joy Division or something, or like Susie and the Banshees, when before it just seemed like I kept that a secret because it was like I felt I had to kind of like different bands, just not them or something. And so yeah, it's like I'm a bit gothic, I'm come to realise. I kind of a bit of a love the macabre. I kind of like to collect little curios and weird tidbits. Like, for example, a like this little quote unquote death mask of Harrison Ford's face in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just found it in the curio shop in Elm Hill and just couldn't let go of it. So that kind of thing. So it's kind of these things like that identified me too, as well as being like trans women and fixed on women and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, well, what you're saying just reminded me of, like, some people say being trans is very much a part of people's identity, and for others it's just part of their experience or their story or their process or their history, but they don't really relate to it in their day-to-day lives, you know. So maybe as you go on, as you say now, you want the emphasis to be more on the woman than on the trans.
I just know that inside, if I'm kind of walking around in my thoughts, processing stuff, I kind of feel like my gender is kind of a bit genderless, or I kind of struggle with it. It's like when I look at myself in the mirror or walk past the shop window and I see my femaleness, that makes me feel really good. It did ever since I first went down the restaurant floor and kind of looked at myself in the mirror, see me looking female and feeling looking happy. And yeah, and it is just the whole, I know that like when I first came out, I was kind of like worrying that like how people might take me being female now, and just being told, you're just female, body's a body, there's no problem with it, and just being so accepting of it. And that really means a lot when that happens. It helps and accept me to my bones, even though I kind of want to go on like HRT and get like the changes to skin and other stuff, but to my bones, which I'm going to change, which is somewhat difficult to acknowledge, but to my bones, accepting myself can be the most important thing there. And it does help when other people are very acknowledging of it rather than dismissing. So I am really grateful for all that.
I love that. Oh. I found it interesting what you said about how you talked about shame, because I think, gender journey aside, we all have a lot of that installed in us.
I know that like about a year ago, I was reading Brené Brown. It got suggested to me by somebody I know, and I read the whole book. I have it handy. The spine's broken. It's been written in so much, because it was the whole thing of like, there is a lot of shame in this world, and there's also some vulnerability and wholeheartedness as well. But it is like, when Brené Brown stands on stage and says the name shame, there is some fidgeting in the audience, because it is like a bit of a thing that people really struggle with, like the shame monster and stuff. And it is a thing of like, what keeps people hidden is shame. Like, will they believe me? Will they be okay if I come out? And just kind of trusting your gut, being around somebody else, that they will, you get this gut feeling of like, they will be good if you open up, and just trusting that gut instinct to open up and just strip away the shame. And yeah. Like, how can you tell you can open up? You just can. It's letting go of control, which is a really vulnerable thing to do, but it's, so just opening up, which I've just done, and it went well, so kudos.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So talking about the whole trans journey thing, and about my feeling of like keeping myself hidden away and stuff, and there was this one point when I was on Facebook Marketplace trying to sell a pair of boots that I did buy, hoping they might be me, but I tried them on and it was like, oh, they're not quite me. I miss my Converses. I love looking down at my feet and seeing like colourful blue Converses with white laces. I'm not a big fan of looking down and seeing just black boots. I mean, they've got symbols on the side, and I love the symbols on the side, but I have to kind of twist my feet to look at them or look myself in the reflection. So love them, but kind of just rather more colour, not quite right. Yeah. So I was selling them on Facebook Marketplace, and somebody just kind of leapt on them saying, "Oh my god, I love these. I love all things to do with like stars and cosmic night sky stuff. I want these so badly. Is there any way we can change the price at all?" And in the end, it worked out well, because I did also notice she was running a business, and I saw this thing she had, a sun catcher, like a tree-based sun catcher. And I was like, okay, I'll exchange a pair of boots for this amount of money and one of your artworks. And I was just like, okay. And she very kindly made this artwork for me like a few hours that night for me the next day, drove down to collect the money and the artwork in exchange for the boots. And just some of the next few days, this artwork was really calling out to me. I could not stop looking at it. And it's hanging from my desk mirror right now. And it's kind of, I feel like it's quite symbolic of like the journey of trans person or any person coming out, whether it's LGBT or anything, or just any journey anybody takes to like show their true selves, whatever it is, goes through. Because at first it's like this tree wrapped in a wire circle, wrapped in string twine and synthetic leaves. It's got like these twisted, mangled roots that look like barbed wire. So it's almost like when you're kind of at the roots, it's like pain, a lot of pain, and just kind of symbolic of that, and just pain, living in just keeping it under wraps, under the ground kind of thing. Maybe, not so sure about that. But then you got this trunk growing up, and it's like, ugh, it's wanting to come out. It's like strangled. You want to get it out. You want to get it out. And then, boom, this just beautiful, colourful tree comes out, which is like turquoise and amethyst and just gemstones, and it's beautiful, and it's like this trans tree of life wrapped in a wire circle. And I just, every time I look at it, especially when I was kind of still settling with my femininity and my identity and all that, it made me feel good, and made me feel kind of loved and supported and just acknowledged and accepted. It helped me with that towards myself. And I remember just kind of every time I would, even if I was like angry or just feeling not okay, like I wanted to be like scream into a pillow or something, or just lash out or something, I just find if I move my hands near it, my hands would like slow, and I'd be picking it up and holding it like it was a child or a baby or like a very precious, beautiful thing. I just hold it in my hands, and just something about that made me feel really calm, good, and okay. Like there's this song, Sonata Pacifique by L'Impératrice, which is French for the Empress, and I first heard this song playing at work, and I remember hearing it for the first time, just feeling myself settle, become grounded, just really just feel calm and grounded and in me, and it would bring a smile to my face. It's that kind of like feeling for me. It was like I felt really grounded. There's something about that song, like hearing Show Yourself or Into the Unknown, both very trans-related songs for me from Frozen 2. Something about those feeling really like grounding, and like just art's beautiful, and just translated artwork's even more beautiful for me personally. But yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, wow, that's really lovely.
Her name's Red, by the way, and her company is Red Roots Creations, and she has quite a few artworks like this. And I know that I used to look a lot at the turquoise gemstones on this, like Rosalina's dress. And then the other day I was listening to Joy Division, getting really into discovering my true taste in music and acknowledging it. And so I'm noticing the dark gemstones more, like the light and the dark. So I don't have to be this, like a kind of, it's like accepting all of me kind of feeling, like the light and the dark kind of feeling, when kind of noticing light and the dark gemstones. So yeah, trans tree of life, I've got hanging from my bedroom mirror, and yeah, it's just feels relevant to me. It feels like a very symbolic of the trans journey.
That's beautiful.
Or journey of coming out, or self-discovery, or anything. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's just goes to show, doesn't it? Like art and music is just so, I think it's essential to life, really, and it should be more of a priority in schools and all that. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you for talking. For doing this.
You can find out more details on the website at 50shadesofgender.com/Bella, where you can also read the transcript. And you can find Bella's writing on her blogs, rosacinarose.wordpress.com and theperksofbeingastarvingwriter.wordpress.com. Thank you for listening to the 50 Shades of Gender podcast. You can find us online at 50shadesofgender.com and on social media. If you'd like to support us, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon. Plans start from only $1 a month. Visit patreon.com/50 Shades of Gender for more details. We hope you will listen again. Until then, stay curious and open-minded.
Just kind of whispering something to myself, just proud of me, proud of me, proud of me. Let's do this.
Oh, I love that.